One thing that has been greatly misunderstood by some believers is this thing about fasting. Unlike what many people think, fasting is it's not about having a need and trying to stay with God for days and having Him fulfill that need. No. If your flesh has more stamina than your spirit, it's a no-brainer. You will go through a spiritually dry season. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want us to speak about something that has been on my heart for a while. You know how many times believers, when we show up online especially, and people see maybe men of God and those who are very bold about their faith online. And most times you're tempted to think that people don't go through spiritual dryness or drought seasons where it looks like, oh, maybe they can't even pray, they can't even study the Bible. But I believe that many of us believers struggle sometimes to be consistent in our devotion. And it is not news because I know I've heard a couple of people, especially men of God I respect, share their own experiences in this area. And I think that the first step to deliverance in that area is even realizing that you're not alone, that there are certain experiences you have in life sometimes that may keep you in that place of you can't even pray, you can't even study the Bible, you can't even maybe even show up in church and all that. But the truth is that when you go through those experiences, you have to remind yourself that you do not have to stay there. You can move forward, but it matters what you do or what you try to do to move forward. And mind you, I know that there is also such a thing as spiritual oppression or maybe demonic attacks that can keep you in that place of prayerlessness. And today we are just going to be addressing or speaking to what you can do when you go through a spiritually dry season. I know that with what I already spoke about, what I already explained, you already know what I mean by spiritual dryness. So I will just say it again for clarity. It just means going through a season where you are not fervent in your devotion, you are not consistent in your devotion, or you find it difficult to pray or study the word for one reason or the other. You know, in my own experience, sometimes or in periods or seasons where I found myself in that situation, I would I noticed that it is when I go online. It's usually when I go online and then I find maybe like a video of someone talking about how they prayed for 5 hours, they prayed for 6 hours, they did a prayer stretch for 72 hours. And I'm like, why do I have to hear this now? And then I start to feel really bad. Like, look at me struggling over here and someone is there nailing it and just doing great things and just praying for hours and all that. And most times those things tend to mount pressure, especially when you are in that season where you're struggling. And so I will just tell you this. Take off that pressure or try to let go of that pressure and just show up. And what does showing up mean? Showing up leads me to my second point, and that is you want to focus on consistency and not volume or not longevity. While long hour prayers are very important and necessary for your soul, the truth is that when you get into spiritually dry seasons, it is important for you to see that what you want to do first is to try to build back that consistency, because at the end of the day, one-offs do not work. One-offs will not help you bounce back. It is consistency that will help you bounce back. There is something I do personally when I go through seasons like that. Sometimes I do 3-hourly prayer. And this is what I mean. So maybe by 9 a.m. in the morning, I do a 15-minute prayer. By 12 p.m. or 12 noon, I do a 15-minute prayer. By 3 p.m., I do a 15-minute prayer. By 3 p.m., I do a 15-minute prayer. You see that in that space of time, I've already done an hour of praying in one day. And so this is how you're able to build back that consistency that powers you through. Before you know it, you're getting into seasons where you're doing maybe like 30 minutes, and it's adding up to maybe 2 hours in a day and all that. But at the end of the day, another thing I want you to understand is that when it comes to spiritual dryness, many times we experience this because we do not plan devotional times. And if you don't plan your devotion, you will not do it. If you don't plan time with God, you will not spend time with God. And so one thing I want to also I want you to also understand this. When you get into those seasons, it's important that you plan time. So you want to tell yourself, like I said already, I do 3 hourly prayers. This is what I do to bounce back. It can be anything for you. You can say, okay, I want to do midnight prayers for 1 week. And so I just show up every midnight and I pray. I show up every midnight and I pray. This is what I want to do. But at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of plan to guide you back to that place of fervor or fervency. Another thing I will give you as a suggestion is, if you can, go on a fast. One thing that has been greatly misunderstood by some believers is this thing about fasting. Many people wait until they have problems or they have needs and then they start fasting. But if you're able to incorporate fasting into your routine or into your life every year, at least multiple times a year, you find out that the chances of you even getting low or getting spiritually dry is minimal. Because what fasting does is, unlike what many people think, fasting is not about having a need and trying to stay with God for days and having Him fulfill that need. No, it's more about starving your flesh in a way that your spirit is able to take center stage again. Because one thing we need to understand is that what powers a spiritual life that is strong is a spirit that is agile, a spirit that has stamina, right? And so if your flesh is stronger, if your flesh has more stamina than your spirit, it's a no-brainer. You go through a spiritually dry season for a long time. And so what fasting does is that it gives your spirit control again. It gives your spirit center stage again. Because when your spirit is strong, when your spirit has stamina, you're not able to get to that place of heightened sensitivity in God, when you're able to understand the workings of God in your life again afresh. So it's easier for you. Your antenna is more alert. You're able to hear better. You're able to see better the things God is showing you. You're more sensitive, you're more alert, and you're more alive. So when you go through seasons like this, I would say, try as much as possible to go on a fast. In those kind of seasons, 3 days, even 3 days can make all the difference. So try as much as possible to incorporate fastings into your routines. Another thing I would say is leverage corporate gatherings and also leverage accountability. If you're in a church or you're in a place where you have strong, trusted believers that you can depend on, that is the season where you want to maybe reach out to someone who you trust and say, you know what, I'm going through a very hard season spiritually. I'm finding it difficult to pray. I'm finding it difficult to study. Can you pray with me at certain times so that way I'm strengthened again to continue the race? Or maybe can you schedule time for us to study the word together? Or can we even give ourselves scriptures, right, that we can study together? And so that just gets me back or gets you back into that place of consistently having your devotion or consistently meeting with God. So don't be afraid to ask for help. At the end of the day, the Bible says that just as an iron sharpeneth iron, so does a man sharpen the countenance of his brother. And so it's important that you understand that on this journey, as much as we are going to all answer to God personally, God has stationed us around people, communities that are supposed to serve as a strong support system for us when we go through seasons like this. No one is supposed to do life alone, and God knows this. This is why God created, or God puts us in places or put us in environments where we can have support systems. So leverage your support systems, leverage your friendships to get you back on track. And this is also a call for those who maybe are or find themselves in circles where they don't have spiritual energy, they don't draw spiritual energy from. It's a call to you to understand that on this journey, you cannot have lukewarm friends and expect that you will burn. The people around you have to burn so that you will burn as well. Because at the end of the day, it's always more of a struggle when you are in the circle of people who are lukewarm. You're going to be the other lukewarm person in the circle. It's a no-brainer. So at the end of the day, you have to always remember that the people that you surround yourself by are very important for your spiritual life. Another thing I want you to do, which is a bonus point, is to be resilient. You know, when you remember what the vision is, it's easy for you to keep going. When you remember that as a believer, the strength of your life is in God, And if you're far from the strength of your life, you will be weak in all areas. When you remember this, it will be easy for you to get on your feet, even when it's hard, and pray, study, listen to messages, and equip yourself supernaturally. Because at the end of the day, that's your lifeline. So sometimes remind yourself of what the vision is. The vision is for me to make God known. The vision is for me to amplify his name through my life. The vision is for him to live through me. And if I'm going to do that, then I have to get on my feet and continuously fuel this relationship by doing my part. At the end of the day, God supplies strength for even our ability to seek him. God can give you strength to pray even when you don't have the strength to. But he requires that you show up, because it's only when you show up that he can back you thoroughly. There are seasons of my life where I was very weak, and I know that I have received supernatural strength from God several times to get on my feet to pray, to study even when I don't want to. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are not leveraging God's strength in other areas and not leveraging his strength and leaving that out when it comes to your spirituality, because in that area, God is also capable of helping you seek him as you should. So with these few points of mine, I hope that you're able to see just how much or how you can begin to be on fire or stay on fire for God. At the end of the day, remember that this is your lifeline. You have no other lifeline. I'm rooting for you, praying for you. Let me know in the comments which of these points you'll be implementing. As for me, I'm very strong about, or I'm very keen on my community and the circles I find myself. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week. Bye for now.